Hey, we're Saints. Father Chris here. Welcome to our Crucifictional Life Stream. Glad to have all of you beautiful people with us. I'm joined today by Deacon Greg and Erin Thobias. How are you, by the way?
Great.
Yeah, good, great.
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you so much for asking.
Christ is risen.
Truly, he is risen.
All right, Christ
Truly, he is risen.
To you people too. All right, ready?
Go.
So I'm telling you all, as they are finding out, they have no idea what today's topic is. Today's topic has been kept a very safeguarded secret.
Today's episode is brought to you by the letter Q.
It is.
For question.
All right, so ready? Let's just go. We're going to freewheel this and go where it goes. I wanted the allure of the unknown. But let's start with this. Tell me this. What are you reading?
Really?
Yeah.
Right now, I am reading Money and Salvation by Andy Galeris, printed by SVS Press.
Nice.
It's a pretty interesting book.
Yeah. Andy's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
Great. What are you reading?
I'm reading Acts.
The Book of Acts.
Seriously.
Yeah, you're trying to manipulate me. I see what you're doing. All right.
No, but I actually really am reading it, Father Chris.
All right, great. I'm reading something called, I'm reading a couple, but one of them is a reread, The Comfort Crisis by a guy named Michael Easter, and it's fascinating, fabulous. Anyways, what have you seen? Like, what kind of, we'll just go for it, whoever wants to say, with the things you're reading, has there been any profound or even maybe insignificant but change in the way you think about things from what you're reading?
What I'm noticing, especially with this book that I'm reading right now, is that it's not necessarily like profound. It's just written in a slightly different way than I might have been thinking about it before. And so that is, for me, spurning different thoughts. There are a lot of things out there that, especially when I'm reading things that are in the realm of what I study and do all of that, it's always interesting to me that it's not necessarily fresh or new content, but it is talked about in a fresh and new way, which presents it differently, which then gives and spurns further thought.
Yeah. No, I love that. I find the same thing. It's like, oh, I know this. I know this, meaning when I read something that gives me a totally new way of looking at, or even looking at what the topic is, or even using different and very eloquent language to speak about it. I love that. And I read somewhere, I don't remember to quote it, so forgive, but that creativity is not coming up with something new, but the creativity is finding the connections and the combinations of many things that are already existing, which obviously there are some brand new, creations like Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. I don't know if you read that, from nothing to existence, but most creativity is like repackaging, something in new ways, unthought of ways. What are you finding? Any updates in your world, in your mind from Acts?
Well, I'm understanding the Holy Spirit a lot differently and how it works, which has been really interesting and has changed the way my mind has been thinking as well. But back to creativity, I think it's really interesting too when I work with creative vendors and I am kicking them off on projects, whether it's a photographer or a graphic designer or a writer. Often it is helpful to give them guidelines for how to play.
What do you mean?
With their art. So often if I just ask them to create something out of the blue and give them an assignment and leave it open-ended, like say a new song.
Yeah.
Which we're gonna
we're
gonna have soon for the podcast. If I tell them a new song, they will not they will ask, well, what style? Right. What are your inspiration points? And it's very hard for them to just come up with something random. Right. And it's a lot easier and also helps them to be more creative if they have some sort of guardrails.
Yeah. I found that to be, I'm glad you said that too, because I found in my own leadership when, leading our team here, that because I trust, and you guys know this, but I mean, we can say it to our audience, because I trust all of you guys and Christian, our youth pastor so much, that I want to see your creativity and like to give you my leadership style is to, empower, get the right people, put them in the right spots, and then turn them loose and let them go get some. But I remember I don't know if you probably remember it too. We were having that team meeting where we came up with our objectives and key results. You remember that meeting? And all of you and the rest of our staff as well was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. because now we had been given parameters around which to use our individual skills and gifts. And it hit me. I mean, I had to learn it too. It just took me a lot longer than it should have. But that in leadership, when you are, in your case, you were talking about having vendors or working with someone or on a team, that while we want the freedom to accomplish the goals according to our skill set, we should probably be given goals, right? Like you were saying with the song, go write a song. Okay, well, do you want a classical song? Do you want a jazz song? Do you want a rock song? Do you want a rap song? I mean, there's a lot of songs, right? Hey, I want a hard rock, guitar heavy riff for 35 seconds of playtime. That's an easier thing for someone to do than to just say, go write me a song,
I think
I write the songs.
Well, I found also that was a point of maturity in my own leadership as well. Because when I first started working with creative partners, I would look at their work and I would admire it and I would think it was so great, and I would just want them to have that creative freedom to do whatever they would want. But I realized it was starting to do them a disservice and actually cause more stress without having those initial guidelines. And then once you have those initial guidelines, you can always bend them and break them.
Yeah, totally.
It's like you learn the rules sometimes to break them or bend them so you can be creative and find different ways. I was listening recently to an artist speak about her musical writing, and she brought up this term of artistry. And she said, as you start to grow in your composition, you understand what your artistry is. And that was really interesting for me to think about, because it was her also sharing that she has guidelines for herself. And so she has specific expectations and the way that she wants to show up and the type of words that she wants to use and her main message that she has created for herself in researching and understanding what is her purpose and what is she out here to achieve. And everything then gets really easy to filter out because it's through that lens.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that, again, another key leadership trait is to be very well aware of what your purpose is and what you are supposed to be doing in this life, as opposed to, just like so many people running around aimless and, just not in the people are bad for not knowing purpose, but sometimes we're never told or taught to go figure it out. Right. Like that, our upcoming series on winning the war within. I mean, we start with purpose. I mean, start meaning that's the final destination. As someone, we're helping people win the war within, that it's so that they might arrive at purpose and, and not just live life aimlessly. And yet so many people, I think, I see it a lot. I don't know what your thoughts on this are, but struggle because of a sense of lack of purpose.
Oh, yeah. I think if you don't know where you're going, then how can you know what you're doing? Like when you have your purpose and you have a goal of what you're there to do and why you're there to do it, you then have the ability to get out there and know the steps that you need to take to get there. If you don't have that purpose, you're just walking aimlessly in the desert. So my family and I went hiking one day, and we took a path that I have taken many times as we've gone hiking in this area and as I've gone hiking alone. And in my mind, I knew exactly where I was going. Well, they changed the color system for the trail marks. And all of a sudden, I found out that I had no idea where I was. But because I still had my overarching goal, my overarching purpose, and I knew generally what was going on, using hiking as the metaphor, and I could physically see where the parking lot was,
right,
I knew the steps I then needed to take to get there. So often we're walking out there, we think we have a purpose, we think we know where we're going, but the trail marking colors have all been changed, and we end up in the middle of nowhere walking aimlessly without any idea of what's going on. We need to have that purpose so that we can see where we're going.
Yeah, it seems to guide everything.
Yeah.
So it points you all in one direction. Like I think you said it a minute ago, Erin, that it helps you filter out everything else, right? So if I am going to select a specific purpose, just as an example to use myself, My responsibility in life, my duty, my purpose is simple. It is to help help teach people the Word of God so that they can live the Word of God. In other words, so that no one can ever walk away from me and say, I don't understand Scripture. I mean, that's pretty simple. And so if somebody comes to me and says, we want to start a soup kitchen in the Warrior Saints Academy, I would say that's an awesome idea, but we're not going to do that. I mean, the content of what we teach, meaning the Word of God, will help instigate people to go out and start soup kitchens, but that's not our purpose. You know what I'm saying? And so it just helps me be able to say no to those people, to those ideas, right?
I think it's important for a step too, because once you start to become more successful in live your purpose, and people are attracted to that. So Absolutely. As soon as you start to hit the ground running with that, you are going to get an influx of opportunities and ideas that come your way, and you got to know what fits and what doesn't. Absolutely.
One of my favorite books is called Essentialism by Greg McKeown, and he talks about this in the early chapters. He talks about once you get good at it, you become, he says, known as good old Mr. So-and-so, meaning that everyone, recognizes your skills and gifts, and then they start throwing in more and more at you and dumping more and more on you. And so his point is that you've got to be strong enough to set the boundaries and to say no to all those, he calls them opportunities that come your way. Because you can do anything, but you can't do everything. Right?
Yeah.
Which I got from McKeown as well, if I'm going to be honest. That's a great book. Essentialism, Greg McKeown. If you haven't read it, must read. Beautiful people.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good stuff.
Great.
What is, if you could define one moment, or if you could describe or tell us about one moment that made you and defined who you are, what is it?
This is the moment.
This very moment.
No.
It's a magic moment.
This magic moment. But this is the moment from Jekyll and Hyde, made popular by David Hasselhoff.
All things David Hasselhoff is involved in are popular.
Honestly, I don't think there is one single moment. I think it's a culmination of all of the moments where you've got everything that has happened and that you learn from, and then you move forward. But there's not just one moment that is like, that is the moment where everything shifted.
Yeah.
But I could give you 10 right off the bat that led to where I am today.
I like this too. Whenever I ask that question to people, I mean, we all tend to I even try to think about what's my moment. What was my Damascus Road moment, if you will, where everything changed. And there are some big ones. Some are bigger than others, right? I mean, that happen in our lives that really help steer the direction. But I agree with you. I mean, I don't know. We can fight about this one a little bit too. I've said it to people a lot. They worry about their past, especially we brought in so many new Orthodox Christians into our parish in the last, few months. I mean, over 60, right? And, a lot of them they feel remorse and repentant, thank God, for their past. And I'm glad, because we should leave our sins behind. But I said to them, don't beat yourself up over it. I said, I'm glad you did what you did. And they all look at me like, Father, I just confessed some heavy sins. I said, I know. But you are who you are as a combination of all of the experiences of your life and all of the choices and decisions that you've made, the good ones and the bad ones. And there are some people, those people, we can talk about them specifically, all of the decisions that they made, the good ones and the bad ones, led them to that moment. And that was a moment where they were entering the church, wanting to become warrior saints and wanting to amend their life and go forward. You know what I mean? And so I said, well, I wish you didn't do all that stuff. But if all that stuff is what it took to get you to this moment, we'll take it. Thanks be to God, because this is the moment, the power moment. I told them,
I love that term, power moment.
I made it
You've
up.
been using it,
I don't know where it came
from,
but
it's
I like it.
Awesome. And I love it because it does reframe your mind from a place of, maybe negativity or feeling remorseful, and it allows for you to take the reins and really have that forward momentum.
Yeah.
My moment actually was when I got baptized, because in that moment, I mean, you had taught us so clearly, this is where you really become a slave of God and not a slave of sin. And so for me, it was a moment of opportunity and renewal to see, okay, what is this life going to look like for the next rest of my life?
Yeah.
And I think it took some time to get comfortable with that new reality for me. And so I'm sure even the new catechumens that you just referenced that are coming into the church for the first time, they are still probably in a place of trying to understand, like, how does this new Christian behave and act in this new concept, in this new context.
What's something you did recently that was for another person, but where you were like, holy cow, that made a difference, that mattered? I'll tell you. I'll start because I've been throwing it at you guys. And I'm not trying to boast. I mean, so I don't want you guys to feel like you're boasting. I just, we have a large and thriving and growing community here. And I was having a conversation with someone last night. And I love this person with all my heart. And, they're great, solid. I mean, when I grow up, I want to be like this person. But they're just having a hard time. Lots going on in their life that's, aging people in there that they care for and all this kind of stuff. And was just having a rough time. And said to me, Father, I know you guys are so busy. Just soon I need some TLC. I said, you'll get it. Meaning just spend time with me. So this morning, why I was late for our script meeting was I stopped. I mean, I'm not boasting. I stopped at the grocery store, bought some ratty little white fading, withering roses, and just went to their home. Showed up. They were in their jammies still. Didn't know I was coming. And I said, I'm bringing you TLC. And it was just great. We sat for 15, 20 minutes, hung out, visited. And I left, and it's not about me. But I did know and felt inside my heart, I'm like, holy cow, that made a difference in someone's life. I mean, and again, it's not because they got to sit with me that I'm the one who makes a difference in everyone's life. I don't mean that. It struck me that, and I felt good, really, is what, I was driving off from that place coming here, and I'm like, yeah, I did the business today. You know what I mean? And I feel like we don't do good deeds because we get a good feeling from them. We do them because God has asked us to do that. And I understand that for sure. But boy, that reward is in some sense priceless. She could have given me $1 million and I would have cared less than the feeling I had from doing that. So anyways, with that kind of stuff, tell me a moment that mattered. I mean, there's a lot.
There are a lot. I'm in the middle of new baby land. So the moments that matter are not that grand. They're more just between husband and wife doing something, taking something off the other one's plate. And, my wife is a rock star and she does a lot for me. So I am just trying in those moments to give her breaks when I can and add support. So the other day I surprised her just by bringing lunch home. Mm-hmm. And all it meant was that we just sat together. And, she's home alone with the baby. She's on maternity leave. So it was an opportunity for adult conversation. And I think it was enjoyable for her, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was really like, I think she just needed the mental break, the opportunity to think and to talk to another adult and have one of those moments.
Yeah, and it shows you too. I mean, I think that's a big moment. But the way you speak of it as being just a simple, mundane moment sometimes are the most powerful moments. Mm-hmm. But it's when you are, I quote Stephen Covey, in his 7 Habits book, he makes right from the outset the distinction between an outside-in approach, i.e. what can out there the world do for me, to switch to an inside-out approach, how can I serve other? And that's exactly what that was. I mean, even bringing a sub sandwich home or whatever, that is small but huge. Mm-hmm. How do we, and that's like, sorry.
No, you're good. I think it's really, really important just to listen to people and what they're going through. And both your stories highlighted that, the moments that you were taking just to simply sit down and listen and hear maybe what has happened in someone's day or what they're going through. And I think that is also another marker of leadership, is having the wherewithal to sit and just listen and be that person who hears them and understands them and doesn't pass judgment on whatever they're going through. For me, my moment was going to Andre House.
What is Andre House?
So Andre House is a soup kitchen, and it's actually in my neighborhood. It's 3-4 minutes from my house. And so I'm working in the community who I live with, which is really neat to be able to have that connection. And it's usually the same people. I mean, I see familiar faces when we go there, and you see, the progression of someone. Maybe that day they're happy, maybe the next day they're not feeling it. But every time we go, you're able to just really take a moment, look the person in the eye, give them a smile, and serve them a meal. And that has been really transformative for me as well, in terms of just preparing the meal, having the moment of service. A lot of the people who come in, they say beautiful things to us too. And they even compliment our clothes, or they compliment our smile, or they say thank you because I can depend on this meal, and it's the only place I can depend on in my life where that it serves as a place of stability. But even the act of them complimenting us and giving back to us is really interesting, because we're there for service, but it ends up being a two-way street where we develop a little bit of a moment of connection, just even in that 3-second time frame.
Somebody said that, I don't remember who, but the giver always gets more than the receiver. Something, I terribly paraphrased that, but yeah, I think it's true. That's kind of what I was saying. I went to, visit with someone and give them flowers, but I received way more. Yeah. God bless you for doing it.
But you're giving to them, and then they want to give back. And they give back with whatever they can in the moment. It could be a thank you. It could be a compliment. It is really interesting to see how that works. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. You mentioned too something interesting, which, that, and it seems small, but to really listen to people. We've been talking a lot about leadership this morning. One of the greatest qualities of a leader is the ability to listen to others. And, I'll be honest with you. I work hard at my leadership. I think I'm okay at it, but I am a terrible listener because, I talk a lot. You guys know more than anybody. I mean, but when you are with someone, most of the time, they want just to be heard. And that seems to me to do a lot of things. One is that it's respectful. Number two is that it gives affirmation. You're of value if someone's willing to sit and listen to you. And you can also, I think, if you listen, you can learn a lot. What are some of the ways, I'll say it like this, do it for me. Teach me right now. What are some ways that we can listen to people better than I do? How do we practice it? And when do we have to speak? Because there are some moments where it's like, all right, now it's your turn. You need to speak.
For me, I just get out of the way. I just ask them a question. So ask a question, like you've been doing it this whole time, actually. Ask a question. Have a reason why you're asking the question. So, for example, with the catechumen one-on-one interviews that I usually do, we take time to connect one-on-one before they start classes. And I always ask, what brought you here? And then I'm quiet. And usually that starts a conversation where I get to hear the beautiful and sometimes heartbreaking events that have happened in their life up until the point where they found St. George. And I sit and I listen, and it takes as long as it takes, and there's no agenda, and that's all I'm doing.
Yeah. If I want to jump in, so forgive me for not listening, but you said it takes as long as it takes.
Yes.
And sometimes I know that I find myself, as I'm, noticing my own emotions, I'm like, come on. We're so busy, we don't have enough time, but it takes as long as it takes.
Yeah, it's important. And from that moment, that might be the first time that they're having a conversation like that. And you might be the first time that they're saying these things. First person that they are saying these things to. They might not have anyone else in their family or friends that understands the journey that they've been on. And so it's really neat to have those conversations, and they set the foundation too for how we move forward. And that is really neat, because you take the transformation that happens over the course of 12 months when they're in classes is phenomenal, and then you see them go out into the world and be that crucifixional leader.
Yeah. I think for me, one of the hardest things I run into when having conversations where I need to listen is I need to remind myself sometimes that this might not matter as much to me, but it matters to that person.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that allows me to hear what they're saying, because 9 times out of 10, those situations are because people are actually coming to you because they respect you, look up to you, whatever it might be, but they are looking to you for advice. So I'll go back to the example of lunch with my wife. Like, I just wanted to go eat lunch with her because I was hungry and then be like, all right, I'm done. But it was her opportunity to talk, and it was her opportunity to have conversation. And I found myself, I shouldn't admit this, she doesn't really watch that often, so it's okay. Doing what you were talking about, being like, all right, come on. And then I was like, no, it takes as long as it takes. Sit there and be present. This is your wife. You married this woman. You like this woman. Like, hang out and listen for as long as it takes to listen, because it matters for both of you. This is how rapport is built, and this is but it's important too that we understand, especially for us as men, to your point directly, Father, asking how do we make sure we listen. We need to understand why communication exists, and that different people utilize communication for different things. And making it as a generalization, I know, but men by and large use report talk. We just want the facts. We just want to get to the bottom and be done and then move on to the next thing. Women tend to overarchingly use something called rapport talk. And this comes from a book called You Just Don't Understand. And it's a way for us to reframe what is the goal of communication. Because sometimes the goal of communication is to disseminate information. Sometimes the goal of the communication is really, to Erin's point, to build camaraderie. It might be the first time that this person's able to talk about that and actually develop relationships with other people.
Yeah.
And so we have a responsibility in those moments as leaders to recognize that and to go with it.
Yeah, that's cool. I think even if I might just add one more final bit on that, is that sometimes listening, it's that you allow another person to think out loud. I mean, you know very clearly that I always say this, there are two kinds of people, those who think to speak and people like me who speak to think, where it's just, you guys endure it, God bless you, all my ramblings, because I'm just processing it out loud and I need somebody to just be in the room. You know what I mean? Get out of the way. You don't have to say anything. But people need to think out loud and they need to get it off their chest. I can not tell you how many times I've been with people either in the sacrament of confession or in just a counseling session, and they say a lot of words and I don't say much, and I know they come looking for guidance and I'm like, God, I wish I knew what to say to you, and they leave and they're like, oh, Father, I feel so much better. I'm like, but I didn't do anything for you. Well, but maybe just being there and listening is exactly what needed to be done.
And to that point, one of the things that is required in those moments is having a little bit of discernment so that you know what needs a response and what doesn't. Yeah. Because as people are working things out and they're talking it out loud because they're working out a thought in their head, that means that you don't need to respond to most of what they're saying.
Right.
But we have an inherent desire, especially for men, to respond to everything because we tend to want to try to fix everything. And not all of it needs to be responded to. Right. And if we get past the point where everything we feel needs to be responded to, then we're able to actually listen because we're not just formulating what we needed to respond to and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's helpful in an argument too. Because arguments are usually that time where someone has a lot of extra that they just throw out there because they're in the moment, they're feeling it. But if you're on the receiving end and you're interested in winning together, as you always say, if you're on the receiving end, it's really helpful just to be able to take those extra bits out and figure out, okay, well, what is the core issue here and what are we actually trying to solve to get to our goal?
Yeah. To do that, though, in an argument, you've got to be really calm and patient because, in an argument or when someone's snarky with you, they're going to say things that are inflammatory and they're going to get your dander up, which is the design. And if you allow that to happen, then you stop listening for what the real, to try to determine what the real issues are. It's a hard thing, but it's so essential.
It's hard to do in the moment.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. We don't always all succeed. There's like Instagram versus reality.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have heard that before, but like there's a way that you would want to react and there's the way that you do react. And I think part of our maturity is just getting out there and experiencing those moments and also having that moment of self-reflection afterwards. Did I respond and did I do the thing that I want to actually do? Was I the person in that moment that I want to be? And if not, then you make some corrections and maybe practice a little bit how you might want to respond.
Yeah, I think it's great because it's hard, especially in an argument, to not just respond to everything. And then at some point, some things do need to be responded to.
Yeah.
And that's where that discernment does come in as well. That what is it that needs to be responded to and what doesn't?
Yeah. Yeah. I have in my first book, wherever it is, over there. No, it's over there. Anyways, The Way of the Warrior Saint. You can get it at Amazon. Anyways, I wrote a chapter in there called Not Every Conversation Needs to Be Had. And there are sometimes where, like, that discernment, I hoped, in writing that chapter that we would be able to figure that discernment out. Like sometimes you got to fight and have the conversation. Most of the time it's like, you know what I mean? It's not worth, and look, here, I'm going to switch gears, but in reality TV shows, it is those arguments, and the unsuccessful nature of those arguments that make those shows a show. You know what I mean? What's your favorite reality TV show?
Me? 90 Day Fiancé.
Why?
Because the whole time I'm looking like, oh my God, this is what I would do if they were in my premarital class. And this is what I would talk through with this couple. Oh, this is what they need to. Oh, they're not talking to each other. They're talking past each. Like, it's a mental experiment for me.
What's your favorite reality TV show?
So I actually gave up reality TV. I don't watch it anymore.
That's a beautiful thing.
That was the right answer.
Because I realized how it was bringing me down. And that, first of all, it makes me sad to see. I would watch The Real Housewives if I was going to watch anything. But it makes me sad to see like 40 to 50-year-old women still having these arguments as if they were 12 years old. Yeah. And whenever I was watching that type of material, I felt my own maturity go down, my own response to conflict go down. I felt that I was modeling some of that behavior that I didn't like. I felt like I was stressed watching it, and why am I trying to... Yeah. I'm trying to relax, and here I am stressing myself out again. And so, I've just cut that completely out of my life.
It's the right answer. I mean, I'm telling you, I don't watch a lot of television, and I don't watch I don't think I've ever seen 90 Day Fiancé or any of that stuff, but I did my bride is a background ambient noise person. So she works at home and she'll be at the computer, but the TV's still on. And she's not even watching it. I don't even know if she knows what channel it's on. It's just somehow it triggers or tickles one side of her brain so the other side can focus. And so, anyways, background. And then I saw, as I was sitting there one day just watching the TV, it was, I don't know the channel, but all of the commercials were about reality TV shows. I mean, it's crazy to me. They were about reality TV shows and drugs. All the medications that are out there. It stunned me. 90 Day Fiancé, Love After Lockup. There are, which I guess people, they track them in jail and then they marry and see how that goes when they get out. And then there's, of course, the cooking TV shows, and there's the Survivor shows. And there's one called Mama June, From Hot to Not to Hot. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I see. And then there's a new one. This is Polly. It's about polyamory. And then, of course, there's the Bachelors and the Bachelorettes and the Golden Bachelors. And, anyways, I won't say what I was thinking. There's all that stuff. There is a TV show. This was in one of the commercials. We TV, I think, is a channel. And listen, All Real. That's the name of the TV. It's just a TV channel that's just about all of it is reality TV shows. Anyways, I say all that. And I missed some. I mean, there's more, right? Holy cow. We live in an idiocracy. You can call it a democracy all you want, but that stuff, like, holy cow, some of the stuff.
Yeah.
I just
needed to say that and get that out. But it's crazy. The stuff that they have created to call it entertainment, and it is entertaining. What it isn't, though, is reality.
Right.
It's not real. It's scripted. The producers are in the background. You can tell even in some of the fights that are on, like 90 Day Fiancés, that was not something that just happened naturally. That is something that was intentionally scripted so that it would happen and it would create more drama.
Yeah.
So they just keep creating more and more drama, but it's people's lives.
Yeah.
So they're trying to have like a relationship that they're forming, but it's coming out of this contrived thing, and it's actually ultimately very, very sad.
So one of my friends was actually on a reality TV show, and he said just that. It was just him having his normal life, his normal moments. And then when something would happen that was of interest, the production crew would say, okay, wait a minute, we got to redo that, re-say that. And they would have to literally relive the same moment over and over and over again until the production crew was satisfied.
The real sin for me about all this stuff is that there's a need for those shows to exist. That means the majority of people, or at least a lot of people, enough people, watch that filth. Yeah. And what does that say about the sad state of our lives? That would, and I'm not criticizing. I'm sure people who watch us are going to hammer us in the comments. I watch 90 Day or whatever. Okay. But does there need to be more than one or two at the most, right? Like, we don't just have the Real Housewives. We now have the Real Housewives in different cities.
All
you know
the
what I mean?
cities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, so it tells me something, right? And so they can hammer me in their comments all they want, but the truth of the matter is that stuff exists because we feed into it. And so what have we as a reasonably intelligent species, how far have we fallen that that's a need we're needing to fill and an itch we're needing to scratch? You know what I mean?
Well, the reality about the reality TV shows, at least it was my case, was I was watching them because I felt bad about my own life. And so it was a way to then make myself feel better for maybe my shortcomings and judge someone else and see, oh, someone else is more of a train wreck than I am, so at least I'm not that.
Yeah. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. My kid said to me once, so I'm bragging, forgive me. I'm so freaking lucky. My bride is amazing. My daughters are amazing. We have a great, great life. God has been so good to us. We sit around the table and we laugh, and we're a clergy family. And Sophia, my oldest, says, Baba, we should do our own reality TV show, a day in the life of the preacher's family or something like that. And I'm like, but nobody would watch the show because there's no chaos in it. You know what I mean? We, of course, things happen where nobody's perfect, but we're all so dang lucky. It's like nobody would pay to watch that stuff. You know what I mean? To like, oh, they like each other. Oh, they got into a fight. Oh, they worked it out. Oh, they moved on. Yeah, we can't sell that. You know what I mean? Yeah. It sounds boastful, but I'm lucky. I'm thankful. Anyways.
Reality TV is just like WWF or whatever there are now.
Well, but that's
right?
it. Yeah.
It's scripted
Yeah.
and people think it's real.
Yeah.
And they think it makes somehow, but it's become entertaining.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because that's another version of reality TV show.
Right.
Reality TV. And yet, they pack those stadiums and they're like all into it. And it used to be like a young man's thing. Like it was mostly young men and from a particular demographic. And so, but now it's like young men and old men and women and famous people. I saw a clip of one and there was like sitting ringside at a boxing match, when they would pan the audience, or at the Lakers games they used to do in years gone by, Jack Nicholson and not Bridget Fonda, what's her name? Anyways, whoever, all the famous, Denzel, they would all go to the games because it was the Lakers, whatever. Now they do this at WWF or whatever it's even called. It's not even called that anymore.
No.
They have like 10 of them.
World Wrestling Entertainment is what it is called now. It used to be the World Wrestling Federation. It is now World Wrestling Entertainment as of a 2004 or 5 lawsuit with the actual World Wildlife Federation, who said they were the actual WWF.
I'm impressed that you know that. It kind of betrays a little bit, doesn't it?
I used to go a lot. All right, great stuff. Let's move on now that I'm embarrassed.
You had something you wanted to say to that.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think it's a little bit different though, because it's a little bit more fun. Like everyone's in on it in the stadium. Like everyone's in on the story and they know it's not true.
Yeah.
But they're having a moment of pretend.
But
I don't
do
know.
they all know that it's not true? I think you're giving a lot of people the benefit of the doubt there.
I don't know. The stories are so contrived. The way the scripts are now these days, very contrived. It's not as sophisticated as it used to be back in the 80s.
But neither.
She just called
I heard it.
Jimmy
I
Superfly sophisticated.
I heard it.
You did?
And Ted DiBiase, the $1 million man. But I just want you to know that they might not be as sophisticated, but 90 Day Fiancé is also not sophisticated. The scripts are not that great. The things that we think are reality TV shows are not that real.
Right.
And we still watch them under this category of reality TV. I think that's the point that you made about we live not in a democracy, in an idiocracy, because I think that there's less thinking.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's definitely a character trait of many of us that we work so hard here at the Academy to, that's why, winning the war within. This is the war. This is the battleground, right? And so not very many people develop or exercise the character trait of thinking. What is one character trait that you can think of in another person that you actually really admire?
Thinking, and also the ability to not get worked up over everything.
So
Because that's something that I struggle with.
Yeah.
I think everything matters, but being able to recognize that things don't always matter the way that they come across as mattering is a very hard thing for me, and I find it admirable in another person.
Who does it that you could say? Is there someone that you know personally that exhibits that?
You, in a lot of ways, seem pretty unflappable with a lot of things. Christian, I would say. But I have a good friend who's really good at it and has been for as long as I can remember. We worked together a long time ago, and it's one thing that has just always struck me about that individual is he does not get sucked into the drama. And what it also does is when there is something that he feels passionate about and he does get emotional about, you listen.
Yeah. That's a great thing too, right there, that you're not always like some of us spewing off at the mouth. And so that when they do speak, it's a rare thing, which means, ooh, you know what I mean? Yep. Kind of the way in the house, in my house at least, and I was raised in a lot of families like this, mom was the one who did most of the, daily disciplining. But when Baba spoke, it was like, oh, look out. Yeah, it's a good thing. I'm looking at you.
Watch out. You're looking at me.
Character trait.
I think, let me think about this. There's a lot of them. I think clear communication is something I've really been studying recently. Because I'm working on it in my own life. And so I've been studying different communication styles, different ways that we go about illustrating points. And there's not one person that stands out to me at this moment because I've actually found that a lot of moments that we think are authentic are scripted. And so I'm trying to figure out, okay, they're scripting these moments to look like they're a great communicator.
Yeah.
What are the qualities that they are bringing into that communication style that they feel are important? And so I don't have a single person that I think I'm looking up to at this moment because I found a lot of people I think are real or not real.
Yeah. But you're talking
because they represent themselves that way on the internet,
But clear communication.
But clear communication, I think, is something I'm studying right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of a nice divergence right there. Digression is probably a better word as I'm trying to communicate effectively. But we've got, I think, a duty, a responsibility, meaning the three of us sitting here, also, our team here, but also just as human beings, to be able to clearly delineate what we are thinking and what we want to see happen,
Well, and the truth that I'm realizing is most of the great communicators of our time have whole teams behind them that are helping them to be good communicators. And so that's interesting to me.
Do you mean people like on the internet?
Yeah, that have, and even yes, they've worked hard in their own right to write the book or do the speech or do, the internet posting, but they also have an entire team that's around them that's helping them to stay on message, stay relevant, stay focused, and stay consistent with their messaging.
Does that seem unfair? Like they're cheating a little bit in your mind?
It doesn't seem unfair because I know they've worked for where they are and they have that team because they started off on their own doing their thing.
Yeah.
And they've made it that way. But I do think it is a false perception in a way, because as someone who is admiring them and looking up to them and wanting to be that way as well, I need to realize that where they are, they have a team of 10 people helping them to be that. And so what is the right reality for me?
Mm-hmm. I understand. That's interesting. Because I know some of the people that I've studied very much do that. There was one author I read who has a really ridiculous goal to write 100 books, and he may get there in his lifetime. His name's Dan Sullivan. He's the one who wrote the book we all read, 10X is Easier Than 2X. It's a great book. I love it. And he was talking about how his time from start to finish to write one book requires 34 hours of his time. So as an author, published author myself, and working on the next one, I know that it's, for me, way more than 34 hours. So clearly he's got a team. But having that, is it a bad thing? Because hopefully you would assume that for Sullivan, the thought is all his, but someone may do the proofing and the editing and, dealing with publishers. And when I published the first one, fighting with the publishing house was a nightmare. I mean, it's just stuff that you have to go through. Maybe he has someone to do that. I don't know. Is that cheating? Because I have needed a lot of help. I'm just saying it, in writing that first one and now the second one, I don't know. Is that cheating?
I don't think it's cheating at all. I think it's the reality. I think it's even the people that are presenting and talking about communication. I don't think them having a team that's helping them communicate is cheating. I think they're still driving the communication. They're still the ones that are behind it, that are going through it, that are pushing things. I think there's that kind of communication, and then there's also the interpersonal communication that we deal with on a daily basis. And that stuff you cannot outsource. There's no way to outsource that stuff. And so it's understanding, for me, what is happening in each scenario. Then it helps me understand why it's happening. So you need an editor.
Yeah.
Everyone needs an editor.
Yeah.
Because at some point you've written all of that stuff. You can't physically look at it anymore and see the errors.
Yeah.
You're too far into it.
Totally.
Having a fresh set of eyes gives you someone that can actually see what's going on, and then they can actually do what they're supposed to do. Edit it.
Can you have an editor now, next digression, for your life? I mean, so you've probably heard this metaphor before where, I'm turning the page on this chapter in my life, where we're using, a book as different phases of life. And it's an apt metaphor. But if your life is a metaphor and you're writing your story of your life, would you not want someone to edit it? Or, I don't know. That's an interesting question to me. Because yes, I definitely need an editor on my book. My first editor helped me tremendously. Do I want that in my life?
What do you mean, like a life coach?
I don't know. It just popped in my head, so I threw it out there. I don't know.
I don't think you need a life coach per se, but I do think that you need to have someone that you can bounce things off of, that you can have someone that you trust, that you can have someone that you can just go in and say, hey, help check me on this. This just happened. This is how I see it has been gone down. Do you think that I was ridiculous in my response or this and that? That way you can actually grow. Mm-hmm. You can have someone, because you're in the situation. You're never going to be able to really see it without bias. Without bias.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Sure.
That was the phrase. But you need to have someone that you can reflect on. And that's what an editor does for a book.
Yeah.
It's someone that's outside of it that is able to look at it and see and help you grow.
Yeah. So maybe is that to use different parlance to say a mentor, or what we might say in the Orthodox faith, a spiritual father?
Yeah, I was just going to say that's exactly what we do in confession, right? We go and we talk about the situations that we're dealing with, that we're struggling with, things that have happened. We confess our sins and they give us guidance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again and again.
I think about you often. I really do.
I do too. Well, I rely on you for that. I come to you how often and say, hey, this just happened. Check me on this.
Yeah.
I do it with Christian. I do it with Erin. Like, I have people that I trust.
Yeah.
That I go and I say, hey, help check me on this, because I want to make sure that I'm communicating effectively and that things are going smoothly and whatnot.
Yeah. That's to me a sign of maturity, that someone is able to ask for and seek the feedback and the criticism. So the follow-up question to that then, are you able to take it?
That's a whole nother bag of
Isn't
worms.
it? Yeah, because sometimes people have come to me and said, Father, here's, what I'm, like you said, and if I can be soft and fuzzy and tell them all the mushy things they want to hear, but is that love and is that of any value? Obviously the answer is no. So if I just say, well, you effed this one up, excuse my language, but can they take it? Sometimes
That's
they
a
can't.
skill.
Yeah, it is a skill.
It's a skill to develop.
So how do you develop that?
You get used to feedback, I think. I think it happens with
Repetition? Huh.
Yeah, it's
and
the same way you get to
experiencing it.
Carnegie
Yeah.
Hall.
And also, again, going back to what I said, thinking of the type of person that you want to be in that situation, and maybe even in your head role playing a little bit. Okay, when someone gives me the feedback, maybe I don't want to hear, then what is my go-to phrase that I'm going to say? Why are you guys laughing?
Because you made me switch gears right away, but role playing in your mind. So here's a confession, public confession. Have you guys ever been driving and seen like some crazy old man who's in his car talking to himself, like in a heated exchange, but there's nobody else?
Yes, I actually drove past you yesterday.
Dude, I'm that guy now. I keep saying, like, I look around and people are looking at me, they're like, what's that dude doing? But I role play. Like, I have conversations with people in my mind. They all are real people. Maybe not in my mind at that moment, but it's not like I'm talking
They
to
might not
my
be
friend.
there,
My-
but they exist somewhere.
That's right. It's not my special friend. It's
not a unicorn.
That's right. But like, I think to me, it's a great tool, because I've gone through the conversations, prepared, and been ready, so that when I come to these conversations, very often when they're difficult ones, one of the ones I do is don't laugh at me. It's Joe Rogan. We need to get on Joe Rogan. We're going to blow Joe. Call us, baby. We're going to blow his mind, especially with our teachings on Genesis and Enoch. Anyways, so I have these conversations with Joe Rogan. Joe has no idea who I am, I don't think. I'm pretty sure he doesn't, But I don't know. If Joe Rogan were to call me today and say, Father Chris, I need to hear what you have to say about Genesis and creation and, the Nephilim and Enoch, dude, I'm ready at this right now in this second, because unbeknownst to Joe Rogan, we've had the conversation many times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways.
But that's part of your preparation. And that also allows you, when you are in those moments, to be unfazed by the stuff that's there to get your dander up. And so they actually are able to move forward with it, right? Because when it goes down, you're already ready. You've already worked through it all. You can anticipate some of the things that are going to come. And what gets really good about it is then when the stuff that you didn't anticipate hits, it's not going to blindside you the same way, because it's not just one hit after the other. You've got all that other stuff that you worked through, and so you can just roll with it.
You're not going to be insane.
Exactly.
I mean, you'll be ready.
You'll be prepared.
Yeah.
People will think you're insane until they see you do the thing that you are preparing for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you're not prepared, you're going to be up a creek with no paddle.
Exactly.
Right? It's just going to keep going and going, and you're not going to be able to get anywhere that you're trying to go. But if you've actually prepared, now you have the paddle.
All right, you won that one. Damn it. I froze up. See, I wasn't prepared.
You weren't
I
ready.
wasn't prepared.
You were up a creek with no paddle.
I wasn't prepared. All right. Well, I think, that was a fun little snippet there, because I just think it's an important thing. Anyways, last one, then I'll let you guys go back to your life. And these beautiful people, I don't even know how long this has been, but this has been great. What's one thing that you're working on that you're proud of?
The videos we just did for the OVF.
Tell me about it. What is that?
I mean, that was time consuming.
Yes.
And mind consuming.
So what is it?
So we just completed a catechism program that we have created with the generous support of the Orthodox Vision Foundation. And we have basically the entire journey that a catechumen will take. So we filmed 101, 102, and 103. And we also have filmed what does that
What is 101, 102, 103?
So that is the education that we put together for any catechist who is going through our program.
If someone wants to become an Orthodox Christian,
Yes.
how do they learn about the faith? We teach them Orthodoxy 101, like the fundamentals of the faith. 102 is
Yes.
liturgy, 103 is okay. So all right, no, I follow.
Thank you, Father. Working on my communication.
You're doing awesome, kiddo.
No, but that took my whole mind, because not only are we thinking about, we had a few audiences. So we have the actual catechumen themselves going through 101, 102, 103, as we just explained, but also the catechist who is teaching that program.
Yeah.
And we filmed all of the education around how to teach that material and how to support the catechumen through that program. And so that was, we filmed up to 33 videos. We might have actually
Probably more. Yeah.
And it was outlining that process as well as how does it come to life visually.
I think you should be very proud of it. I mean, I'm glad you are, because having worked with you on it and with Deacon Greg on it, most of the content was myself and Deacon Greg, but the thought and the brain was yours, because you, for us in our parish, are the lead catechist, our director of catechism, we say here. And you led now 2 classes through, right? And I saw even in from class 1 to class 2 a marked improvement, just because you go through things and you learn, like you said earlier, repetition. But the program that you put together to say, all right, catechist, from their first encounter with the church, which is no longer in the church but online, all the way to their last breath as a human being, meaning at 100 years old, God willing. Let's draw that plan. I mean, that's a plan. That's not something, we called it from birth to burial. I mean, that's a lot. You should be very proud of it. And, it's still in post-production. I understand that. But having watched all of the filming of it, I'm like, it's good stuff. So that'll be out there someday. We just have to get it produced. What are you proud of that you're working on?
I don't even know where to begin.
A small child.
I mean, just, everyday struggles with the children is there. But I really, I would say that there's some stuff that's been happening at work lately that I'm particularly proud of. Just some preparation stuff that I've been involved with that has taken a lot of effort and a lot of time, and I'm really happy with what we've come up with, and excited to see where that might go.
Yeah. May it be blessed. Great stuff. Appreciate you guys. This was fun.
Father, what are you working on?
What am I working on? Dear Lord, too many things. Well, 2 to talk about. One is the Winning the War Within book, which will also become a summit. We're going to, in the fall of 2026, we'll have an in-person live summit here. It'll eventually also become a course on the Warrior Saints Academy. So that's fun. The book is good, and it will be the thesis of all of it. It's pretty cool. I'm excited about that. The other one that I'm proud of and scared to death of is the master's degree. Now, the Academy has been, we are accredited to give by the 2 major accreditation. One, I didn't know a lot about accreditation, regional and also national accrediting agencies. There's many of them. But we can give a master's degree in biblical leadership. So someone can take that course from the Academy once we, get it, the cohort, and we've already had interest in it. I mean, like crazy to me, because, it's a beautiful thing.
It was beautiful. We sent out one email, and from that one email, we
got
had
inquiry.
Several inquiries, and we're doing our interviews starting next week, which will be very exciting.
Love it. Yeah, so I'm thankful to God for all that stuff. I appreciated this time. Appreciate you, beautiful people, for watching and following along with all of this. I'm not sure. Hopefully it was good, but it seemed like a great convo, so I appreciated it. We will be back, Orthros Liturgy on Sunday, as always, and we will be coming to you again in the immediate near future. As always, until then, you keep walking on the way of the Warrior Saint.